Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back to Eldest Daughter Saves the World. I have missed talking with you all. I know I shared on my social media, but I just really needed to take the end of 2025 to reset, to regroup, to rest, and to heal. So, the podcast, I wanted to be able to do it well. So, I set it aside until I was back into a good mindset that it could be useful to you all. So, what I want to talk about today is as I'm recording this, it is the 8th of January. So, we're about a week into the new year. And what I'm finding from folks that I'm talking to in coaching and just in general is that people are already feeling overwhelmed by what they have, and I use that in quotes, have to accomplish in 2026. And so they're already feeling burned out. They're already feeling this pressure. And so what I want to explore with you today if is this notion of what if slowing down is actually one of the most productive things we can do. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. I'd love your feedback. Shoot me a DM or comment wherever you're seeing the podcast and all of that. I'd love to kind of engage with you, but I wanted to share some thoughts, that I have in regards to this. So it drives me crazy. And this is a person that owns a yoga studio and coaches that starting right around Christmas, we start seeing the weight loss commercials. We start seeing the gym commercials. We start seeing all these things that make it so that it has to be new year, new you. And if you've coached or talked with me for any length of time, you know that I really operate on you're excellent as you are. You don't need to be new. You don't need to be different. You don't need to do any of that. If you have goals that you want to change about yourself, that's great. Let's figure out a plan. But don't push yourself into this new year, new you idea where you have to change, you have to lose weight, you have to start eating healthy, and all of these things. When that clock strikes midnight on January 1st, it's like there's this pressure on all of us to do these things. And so, personally, the last couple of years, I have spent really slowing down in January and making things intentional. And it's just a lot nicer way to start the year. And there's times in all of our lives where we are just ready to like jump into the deep end and go. But most of us do not feel that way in January, whether it's the weather. I live in the northern half of the country and it's snowing and it's cold and the wind is blowing and the sun doesn't always shine very brightly every day. And so just going with what your natural rhythm feels like, I think is a really, really great place to start. And I think too, and I feel like I dog on it every podcast, but social media also amplifies this need for us to be, brand new, new and improved, all of those kinds of things. And we really just need to listen to our own intuition. So let's talk about starting slow. Old corporate Laura would say, "Ugh, that's lazy. It's lazy to be slow." No, I'm going to tell you right now, if no one has told you today, you do not need to earn your rest. Rest is a right, not a reward. So a lot of us are burning that candle at both ends, and you will meet in the middle and burn out. So I don't want you to do that. So, you're not lazy. You're not lazy. Just if you take nothing else from me today, that's what we're going to talk about. So when we talk about making some of these big changes, I think most of us know, let's use weight loss as a goal because that's one that a lot of people can relate to. If we want to lose 50 pounds, we don't get to eat carrots with 2 meals and then drop that 100 pounds. It's going to take gradual and consistent work. And any kind of goals that you have, whether they be business, personal, family, I'll use one of my goals for the year, which is to clean a lot of the clutter out of my home. Well, I very quickly, with my ADHD brain, got myself overwhelmed with, oh my gosh, I have to clean every closet. So I made a list of sections so I can just clean out the pantry. And then I can just clean out the hallway closet. And then I can just clean out the closet in our entryway. So really taking those slow, gradual paces are a lot more intentional. And it means that you're actually going to make it to February, right? I don't remember the statistic, but I know we've all heard it that if you're a resolution person, most people drop it, I think, usually by this date, usually around the 10th of January, they've already given up on it. And so let's really set ourselves up to be sustainable and keep things going. And you know what? You can do a soft start to things. Maybe all you could accomplish this week is getting back to your 9 to 5 and getting dinner on the table for your family. That's okay. Maybe all you accomplished this week was, okay, I really want to schedule social media posts in my business. And that's all you did this week was hey, you got 5 social media posts scheduled. Really celebrate those soft starts where you're, okay, you know what? I am getting very slowly into the habit of waking up early again. Or I am very slowly getting into the habit of every Monday I schedule my social media posts or whatever your soft start is going to be instead of, I have to do 16, months worth of posts all at once. That's not sustainable for anyone. So really taking those slow starts as a strategic measure instead of, laziness. And again, you're not lazy. You deserve rest. So kind of going into that, this is a time of year that we need rest and reflection, right? You are not going to know. You know what your let's say your cultural brain thinks that you need to do. Do you need to lose weight? Do you need to make more money? Do you need to do all of these things? But when you really sit back and reflect, and that is part of the reason that I took a little hiatus from the podcast, what I really needed was to clear things from my schedule, to clear things and not feel like I had to pack every day with things to do. So, on top of that, acknowledge that you're still recovering from the holidays, right? You probably were a lot more social than you normally are. You probably had, just because we're all, in this culture of capitalism, we all probably spent more money than we do on a normal basis. We are dealing with seasonal affective disorder. If you live somewhere where the sun isn't shining all the time, maybe 2025, if it was like it was for me, was just an absolute dumpster fire of a year. And you were still processing that, right? I've seen all of the memes that say I'm still processing 2020. Like we are have had the craziest 5 years and we're still dealing with that. So maybe using January instead of a month of just action, really thinking about what you want from this year and go a little deeper with it. Yes, we all would love to make more money, but thinking about why do you want to make more money? What will that money allow you to do? Maybe it's I won't lay awake at night wondering how I'm going to pay my mortgage. Maybe it's I really need a car that doesn't make a rattling noise. Whatever it is, really think through not just getting the tangible thing, right? I want more customers. Well, what will more customers allow you to do? And so really reflecting on that, taking the time, being slow. So let's talk about some practical ways to do this because, it's really great to have, to live in thinking land and, oh, I just love to sit and journal all day and drink my tea. And, yes, build that in as much as you can. But we also have to live in the real world of doctor's appointments and we need dog food and, just all of the things that happen. So let's talk about how do we even do this? So, what I want you to do is really, and this is hard if your brain is like mine, but I want you to focus on one thing at a time. All right. So, if you can, and even if you only give it a couple days of focus, right? So let's use a few examples of this. So, in my own life, I have some things that I want to accomplish with my coaching business, and I have some things that I want to accomplish at the yoga studio. I have to sit down and think about each of those things separately. Right. And I read a book over the last half of the year called The 12-Week Year. And I'm not going to say I recommend the book, but it had some good concepts in it. It was a little broy for me, but um, it really took a look at instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, it's January and I have to get all of these things done to December, your brain just starts spinning out, right? 12 months is a long time to figure out. So, what this 12-month year encourages you to do is to look at things in every 12 weeks, right? Because you can break that down a little bit easier. It's a lot easier for me to say, if the dentist is a great example of this. I don't know if your dentist does this, but you go in for your cleaning and then they try to make an appointment for 6 months later. Do you really think that I'm going to know 6 months later? I don't even know what job I'm going to have, right? It's just these silly, like, oh, that's just so far away. So doubling that into 12 months is just something that our brains a lot of time, just have a hard time with. So really thinking about maybe some monthly priorities. And if you're able to sit down and do this reflection every couple of months, that way the things that life throws at us, it's a little easier to go to flow on down the river, right? So just figuring that out, maybe some monthly goals rather than annual goals. I'm not saying don't do annual, but break them down a little further for yourself. Another practical way to slow down is to say no. That things are, if things are not aligned with your priorities right now. So maybe you have an overzealous neighbor that loves to play cards and you don't mind doing it every so often, but they want to do it every Saturday. It's okay to say no and maybe only do that once a month or once a quarter, right? And the other thing, this sounds counterproductive, but to slow down, you need to make some space for creativity and joy and spontaneity, right? There's nothing more fun than the first time the weather gets warm and you get to open your sunroof and roll your windows down and the sun's shining in. And if you're rushing from place to place, you're going to miss that joy after the winter time. So, really figuring out those practical ways to slow down. Maybe it's a long bath for yourself each night. Maybe you are going to just build in 15 minutes to take a bath, right? Just figuring out what those things are for you. And kind of along with that, so we talked about, the 12 months seems so far away, but at the same time, you have 12 months to accomplish these goals. You don't have January. You don't have to be a millionaire by the end of January, but you can put the things in place to make that happen, right? And so I know some folks that really have and this kind of goes back to celebrating your wins as well, because a lot of times we don't notice what um, we've accomplished because we're always on to the next thing. And that's kind of why I like this time of year too, because you can stop and reflect and say, oh my gosh, we really did have, I added 20% more customers to my business. Or, my gosh, I really worked hard and I got that promotion last year and I just jumped right in with both feet. And so, really thinking about those long game types of things when it comes to your mindset. So, those really small actions accumulate. And so, talking about that with weight loss again, right? The way you lose 100 pounds is 1 pound at a time. And so you got to figure out what's the thing I can do to lose the next pound and then the next pound and then the next pound, right? And so if you're just thinking 1 pound at a time, you have time to kind of reshape how you're going. Okay. So that's what I wanted to talk with you all about today. I hope that this helped you, just really think through like, don't buy into the hustle culture. You all know that I'm not a hustle culture person. But really, I want you to think about, I'm not jumping off the cliff and, coming out of the starting blocks and sprinting. I am taking a long, leisurely walk through January. It's almost like going through the forest, right? I'm going to stop and look at a deer when I see one pop up. I'm going to collect a leaf that looks cool, right? Just noticing those things around you. Because once you get to where you're going and you get there with joy and with some energy left over, it's so much better than burning yourself completely out and falling over the finish line, right? So just kind of keep that visual in your mind as we go. So I will talk with all of you next week. I hope I brought a little bit of big sister energy to you today, but I just really want you to think about, slowing down and not feeling like you have to rush in January. We'll see you next time, everyone. Have a good one.